Muenster gets the first win of the season last week, their first true test this week. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Muenster Football Show, brought to you by the Muenster Booster Clubs and Roma's Restaurant right there in Muenster. As the Hornets dispatch Fort Worth Lake Country 54-6. You know, that was such a beat down. That's one of those games, as you'll hear Coach Carney talk about, you don't really get a lot out of. I mean, yeah, you have some success. You get some confidence. I will say that. You know, no matter who you're beating, you get confidence when you win. But we know that the first real test of 2024 will be this week against Holiday in a game on Thursday night that's going to be an absolute blast. This is one of those I have been looking forward to, and Grant Goodwin and I have talked about on the 3A show and the 2A show. By the way, you can hear each one of those at our on all of our all of our audio podcast platforms. Now, to find it, though, you have to type in sideline to sideline if you're looking on a platform. It's not on this network feed that where all the coaches shows and the regional shows go. But you can also find it at s2sgrantandterry.com or on YouTube at L4 Media. So just type youtube.com/at L4 Media, or just search L4 Media in the search and our shows will pop up. But we've been talking about this Holiday Muenster matchup. It's a great 3A versus 2A. Two teams that, you know, I think both are going to be playing a long time into the playoffs as they normally do. So that's going to be a fun game. And what we're going to do this week is what we do every week. And that's talk to Coach Carney about last week's game and about this week's game against Holiday. And we'll do all that when we come back right here on the Muenster Football Show. Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO guardplus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouthguard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, you know that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
Terry Bennett back here on the Muenster Football Show, now joined by the head coach of the Hornets, Coach Brady Carney. And, Coach, you kind of knew it going in, but you dominate Fort Worth Lake Country 54-6. And is there anything you can really glean from that game?
No, not really. I mean, I thought, you know, the only thing I see that stands out that we didn't do well, we had way too many penalties.
Mm-hmm.
We were like in the 8-9 range as far as penalties go, just things that, whether it's on punt return, hitting somebody in the back, you know, and things that we can fix that we talked about. We didn't have a lot of holding penalties. We didn't have offsides, things like that. It was just stuff that we could control and hopefully fix. But when you look at the stat sheet and stuff, man, the only thing that, to me, that really stands out is the penalties. You know, other than that, I thought we executed on offense really efficiently and well. No turnovers. Defensively did our job as far as the front D-line. I think did a good job. Our pressures were there when we needed them. Back end held up well in their play action. So overall, I thought it was a good night.
Well, when you talk about the penalties, is it just, as you said, it's things you control? Is that just one of those, it's that week one thing where no matter how much y'all prepare, it seems like week one, and we're talking high school all the way up to pro, it's just dumb penalties?
It is, and I think the officials do emphasize things a little bit more the first couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? And they're trying to get their point across too. So I think you do see some more. I think you see way more flags early in the season you do late. And like I told you, the main thing for us is just the little things that we can fix, whether it's head across when we're blocking somebody, or we had a couple of interference calls that were iffy, but they're iffy because even though face guarding is allowed in high school, basically, they're still going to call it sometimes. Yeah. When you're right up in their face, you're pushing on. So we need to get back in phase. We need to get our head turned a little bit. So it's all those things we can hopefully get fixed and worked out this week.
You bring up that and you talk about what the officials emphasize. And if people don't know, we're in a massive Texas football official, really all sports officials shortage. For you as a head coach, do you think about that when you're ready to get onto an official, when you feel it's a iffy call? Do you try to pull yourself back, or is it just in the moment you're just going to react how you react?
No, I think that's a good question, because I've felt like, of course, I'm getting older, so I'm not what I used to be as far as, energy level and so forth. But I'm not nearly as over the top as I used to be with officials. And I do think it's because I feel like we're losing officials, and maybe it's because of how we treat them as coaches. And if we change our ways, maybe it'll help us improve as far as getting officials. And we don't have to play Thursday night games like we have to play this week. And I've got to move my junior high JV next week probably for shortage of officials. And I had to do the same thing last week, waiting on a crew to get here after they finished another game, So to answer your question, yeah, I do see myself probably being a little bit more easygoing on those guys than what I used to be, and it's probably because of that.
Well, do you think that that's one of those things, because we've all been there, and you've, as a coach, have probably done it, where the coach seems to get a big leeway on what they can say and how far they go out in the field and stuff. Do you think there's any way that the UIL can ratchet that down to where it's coaches aren't being like that?
I think it goes back to us as coaches realizing the position we're in with the lack of officials. I don't know what the UIL can necessarily do, because I feel like the officials do a good job of getting you off the sideline, keeping you on the sideline, not letting you get on the field too much, and they kind of let you know when they've had enough. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it's on us as coaches to realize that and maybe ease up a little bit, try to talk to them more instead of yelling at them, get our point across in a different way and communicate differently. And I feel like I've done that the past few years, and looking back, that's probably what it is, But hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm not. There's games where you get fired up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But I can see myself as a different person than I was, let's say, 10 years ago. But I also think that has to do because I'm getting a little bit older too.
All right, so you move off from this opponent 1-0. You take on Holiday this week. This is going to be a completely different style game. Eagles, a 3A Division II region power. What are your thoughts when you see them on film?
Man, first off, very talented team. Man, they're big, they're fast, they're physical, they're skilled. They got all the combinations you want to be a really good football team. And then you throw the coaching on top of it. I think Coach Atwood and his staff, watching those guys, do an extremely good job of not only getting them to play hard, but being very sound in what they do. They're not perfect, just like there's not any team out there that's perfect. They're still making mistakes I'm sure Coach Atwood's trying to fix. But you watch them on film and you can tell they're very well coached, from their special teams to their offense and defense. And, it's one of those deals where, I can't say I'm overly excited for playing the Holidays and Pottsboroughs and those guys, but at the same time, you get to play a well-coached football team, a good football team, and you come out of it healthy. Win or lose, I think you become a better team from it. I thought we were that way last year. We dealt with the losses to Paradise and Pottsborough and Bells and competed against schools our size really well. So I think you can get some out of it, win or lose. You just, like I said, the main thing is staying healthy. And if we can do that, win or lose, we're going to be a better football team for playing these guys, because they're a really good, talented football team.
Well, you bring up last year, and you're exactly right. Y'all were better because of the schedule. But then 2 years ago, that same schedule, the injuries hit y'all, and so sometimes that year works out perfectly where you advance as a team and learn, and then other times you're just taking bruises and broken bones every week.
That's it, man, and that's the main thing from these games. They're a bigger school. They got more kids. They got a little bit more depth. They got bigger kids, more size, more speed, and that's the main concern from this deal as a coach. Is not necessarily the wins or the loss. Winning or losing. It's it's how we compete and can we stay healthy? That's the big deal for us. We just got to stay healthy and keep getting better, and we've got a chance to be a tough out for anybody at our level, I think. But we got to get through these games healthy and go out and learn from them like we did last year, and we'll continue to get better and compete at a high level. That's the main goal for us, man. Just go out and compete and stay healthy.
And this game has a weird one because this is kind of a little bit of a grudge game for the Holiday side because apparently y'all beat them in ninth grade or something, and that's the only loss they had in sub-varsity. So oddly, y'all have the target on your back with Holiday.
Yeah, that's weird because, we did go over and play them. I guess it was a couple years ago when our juniors were eighth graders and our freshmen were on the JV. Our eighth graders beat them. Our JV played them tough. We didn't end up beating them, but we played them tough. And I guess those boys from Holiday are taking that as a punch to the gut still, But I've been coaching long enough. You can see talent in eighth grade and junior high. You can see what you got coming. But if you're not developing and getting bigger and stronger and faster, those other guys will catch up to you. And we've tried our best, and we are bigger, faster, and stronger. But so are they, with more numbers. I hope they don't carry that grudge too far tomorrow night. They need to let that go pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? Just come over and be nice and play the game.
Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO GuardPlus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
I want to thank Coach Carney for joining us as he does each and every week here on the show. I want to remind you, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email them to me, Terry at S2SSport.com. You can also, if you're interested in sponsoring this show, and we still have a couple spots open, again, email me, Terry at S2SSport.com, or you can text me, 469-605-3658. So, yeah, as I said in the intro, and as we talked about with the coach, I'm so excited for this game. If we weren't going out to Bushland on Friday, and we even thought about trying to make this game on Thursday, but we just didn't have the time on our schedule with other things we're having to do. But I'm going to definitely be paying attention to this game tomorrow. I think no matter what happens, no matter who wins, and we have a holiday show here on the network, by the way. If you did not know that, you're more than welcome to go listen to the holiday show and hear what Coach Kyle Atwood has to say about this game, because both of these coaches are so respectful of each other and of the programs that each have. It's one of those games where it's just going to be fun. I know you as a Muenster fan, of course, are going to be rooting for Muenster. But for me, someone who does a show with both, and I want both teams to be successful, I'm just going to enjoy the game to see how it plays out and where these two teams are at this point of the season. Still, of course, way, way early. But the good teams, man, it doesn't take them long before they start to find their stroke and they start to get into playoff down the road shape. And I think we're going to see a pretty intense football game between these two teams. All right, that's going to do it for week 2. Week 3, it's Winthorst week next week. We'll talk about it then right here on the Muenster Football Show, brought to you by the Muenster Booster Clubs and Roma's Restaurant right there in Muenster on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.